Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sampson, Jim Jonas, another episode of Veterans in Politics. We have two exciting guests today, Megan and Jason Snow. They're going to talk about the constitutional violation within our family court system. Jim, you have anything?
Yeah, it's sort of a rant, sort of not. Okay, so anyway, based on the fact that I know what this episode is about, obviously. And so I wanted to talk about the Service Members Civil Relief Act.
Huh, it's my favorite.
That was actually updated in 2003. Okay. So it provides an automatic stay of at least 90 days if a service member is actually under federal orders. Okay.
And you probably have to explain a stay because a lot of people don't know what the stay means.
Right. And so here's the issue that I have with it. So basically a stay is, it's stating that the judge must automatically grant a 90-day stay.
That means you can't proceed.
Yeah. So, and that's why I'm glad you're here to help me with this, because the issue that I have with it, it's a great bill, but there's a couple issues. So number one is that the judge has to grant that 90-day stay, but the service member must submit the proper documentation. And they're court orders, basically. Yeah, and so, but they have to do that.
I mean, not court orders, sorry, they're military orders.
Right. So they have to provide that, though, within a week of, and this only pertains, from what I understand, for civil cases, right? So here's my problem. So they have to submit this paperwork, correct? Okay, so you're serving abroad, and so say like it's a hypothetical, but let's put it this way. So Steve, you were a part of the first Gulf War, correct? Okay, so you have something coming up in court. Now, if you ask your superior, "Hey, I need time to fill out this paperwork," what are the chances he's going to say yes?
It depends.
Right.
Usually they say, no, you do it on your own time.
Right.
You don't have any.
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah. So what I'm saying is it's a good bill and I get it. But does the military actually provide a service to where you can go to them and say, hey, like a JAG officer or something, and say, hey, so this is the situation. And do you have representation to make sure that that paperwork is filed on time? Is that something that the military offers?
It depends on your command.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the other issue that I found interesting is, so if you get all the documentation in to the judge on time, and it's a mandatory 90-day stay, those 90 days, okay, that's mandatory. But then after that, if you ask for a continuance, now it's up to the judge's discretion.
Well, the Civil Relief Act, the way I read it, is that if a military member is on orders, then it's stayed until they come off of orders and back into the jurisdiction of the court. Because you could do a 90-day stay, and if they're in Iraq or Afghanistan or Costa Rica on orders, they can't proceed until that military member is
So
back.
that's the reason why I brought it up, and I wanted to have a little bit of a discussion with you real quick, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to take away from your time. You'll get as much time as I need you to. Is that because I think there's confusion going on right now. Because first off, I have an issue with the paperwork having to be filed at that time. I think it should just be something that's automatically sent to the judge. Like, okay, so this person's under federal orders right now. We can't proceed until they get back. I think that's something that the military should provide. And then after the 90 days, it's up to the judge's discretion, and that will get into more when we start our interview, because that's the thing that really irritates me is when we start talking about judicial discretion. What exactly does that mean?
That means it's up to the judges, whatever they decide. You know, they don't. Well, family court judges don't really follow orders. Don't really follow any kind of laws anyway. They just bring their own personal bias on the bench and then make rulings off of that. Okay. But we have Jason and Megan Snow. Jason, could you give us a bio?
A bio?
A little bit about you.
Well, my biggest accomplishment now is I'm a stay-at-home dad.
Oh, cool.
But
you know that there's not many of those.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. He's almost 3.
Oh yeah.
So it's been amazing. I grew up in Huntington Beach. Normal.
You know, I want to stop you right there, Jason, because I just have to commend the stay-at-home dad, because I remember my 3 older kids. I was hardly there for them, you know, because Marine Corps, Army, young, dumb, doing my thing, not really worried about kids. And with my 4th child, I was there from birth, and now she'll be 13 in June.
Wow.
And I've been taking her to school, picking her up, you know, track, jiu-jitsu, whatever. And it's a whole different life, and it's amazing. And these kids, they remember that.
Yeah.
They remember when you screw up, and they remember when you're there for them, you know. Right. And this is like a bond that you can't break between a parent and child, especially when you're the one raising them every step of the way.
And it's amazing when we go out, when we're anywhere, and they encounter him. Everybody makes the comment, he's so advanced, he's so this. Yeah. Well, he's never been in daycare. Yeah. He's never been left with a sitter. Yeah. You know, he's with me or her or both of us. The only outside of our care is when he's with grandma visiting or church on Sundays.
Because this is what's going to happen, right? When they get older and you were hardly around for them, when they get older, they're going to like be distant from you.
Right. But
if you're there for them through the childhood, when they get older, they want to stay close to you.
And he's not going to have insecurities because mom and dad leave.
And they're open, they could open up to you and talk to you about things.
Because we've been doing it since he's this small.
Yeah, my daughter talks to me about stuff that you would think that she would talk to her mother about, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, okay, baby, we'll figure it out. And okay. All right, that's TMI.
Right.
Okay, but we'll get there.
But you grow as a man, like they're growing, but we're growing too. Because,
exactly.
You know, you're like, you have to mind your P's and Q's, and you have to think and with our son, if you tell him that this is a green cloth, it is forever a green cloth. Yeah. So sometimes before I say, well, that is a this, I'll Google it to make sure I'm using the correct terminology. Because once you say it, it's over.
You're done for it.
Right. That's what it'll always be.
And they remember that.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he will. And so grew up on Huntington Beach, surfing and doing fun, awesome childhood stuff. And then moved out to Vegas. My goal was to buy a house.
How long have you been here?
I've been here since 17 years.
Oh, okay.
So my goal before I was 30 was to buy a house. Right. And so came out here and on vacation, and then saw one of the billboards and had no intention, but I was 29 and got off the road and went in the office and wrote a down payment for a house that they were going to build for me in 6 months, and then went home to San Diego. And because I had moved to San Diego during that time, and then tried to figure out, okay, well, I don't have a job, I don't have a this, I don't have a that, but I made it, and I got my goal, and I got my first house, and I've had 3 houses since. But so that's how I ended up in Vegas, and been started my career as a truck driver then. No, 1998, I got my driver's license. So my timelines are off. That's why I use my phone. But so I started driving truck and got all my licensing, and that's been my career up until 2016. So I drove a truck, TSA certified, all that background checks, all this. But anyway, that's how I supported my family, and then 2016, I made some mistakes, and so I haven't driven or anything like that. And then rebuilt my life after those mistakes. Right. No mistakes before, no mistakes after, but those mistakes.
The beautiful thing about mistakes, if you learn from them, they're gone.
Oh, it's really changed everything in my life. You know, I was on probation and had.
You made me curious. What type of mistakes did you do?
Stupidity. I actually shot a gun out of my moving vehicle and blackout drunk, but that's no excuse. It's still you.
Were you in a residential area?
No, I was on the highway in the middle of the night, but the bullet struck a vehicle. So worst and best thing, I guess, that ever happened. Because,
how old were you?
This was 2016, so I was 40. Do the math.
You're supposed to know better at 40.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. So, but that was my first incarceration.
But
that was my first.
That's not always the case. I can testify to that.
But you know, they say men's brain don't really develop until they're about 35.
Yeah.
Women.
So I was a little
women
behind
is
the
about
curve.
25. Women is about 25. Men goes a little slower.
Right.
Yeah. That's
well,
what they say.
So the long and short of this horrific stuff that's been. You know, I was arrested for attempted murder, of course, because a bullet hit a vehicle.
Right.
And that's all family court knows. But the judge who has all the evidence and all the case details gave me probation only, 0 time served. So what, attempted murder and I got 0 time served? No. You have to look at the evidence, but family court, it's attempted murder. That's it.
Yeah.
So I've gone through the probation. That was all this. I've done over 4,000 hours of community service because I had to either be full-time employed or do 20 hours a week. Well, 20 hours a week, 4 years, it's 4,000 hours. And I was staying home, you know.
You could have did community service with us. We're a nonprofit.
Well, there you go. Well, now I have time. My son can come now. We have a pack, and he can be on there, and we'll do all the things. But so during my community service, how this ties into what's going on here. Ironically, I did a lot of my community service at children's camps. Riding, walking around with horses. You know, like day camps.
Horse for Heroes.
Yeah, this sort of thing. Exactly. Well, ironically. If it was a Thursday or Friday, I'm with kids all day, and I can't go to my own house. Because
we're going to get into that.
Yes, I couldn't even go home to my own house.
Let's talk about Megan's bio, and we're going to get right back in that.
Okay.
Well,
hi, Megan.
Hi.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's nice to finally have a platform for people that will listen and let us use our voice rather than being told not to use our voice.
Right.
Born, I don't know. Lord.
East LA?
What? No, I know. No, born in Florida, raised in Ohio, grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, and then came out here in 2005 after Hurricane Katrina.
Okay.
And
everybody seems to come to Vegas when something goes bad in a state. The first place they come is Vegas.
Well, Vegas was landlocked. So after dealing with Katrina and all the flood water and all of that, it was a blessing actually to be in a landlocked state. So,
what do you mean by landlocked?
We're landlocked. There's no huge bodies of water around us.
We'll flood out, but not by the ocean.
Yeah.
But if California just pushes away, we'll have oceanfront properties.
Eventually,
there you
go. Yeah. And came out here. I was a chef for a lot of years.
Chef?
Yeah, was working in New Orleans as a chef, and then.
So what kind of dishes do you?
I was classically French trained. Like I love everything, but I've done the corporate monster. I've done I've done all of that. and settled down several years ago with a small mom and pop place. And then when COVID hit, mom and pop places were the first ones to really struggle and have to let people go. But we've since started our own business at home, and we're actually sustaining our own lives to be stay-at-home parents, which is really, really great. So yeah, and he and I met in 2015, and even
seems like a nice guy, by the way.
He's an amazing man, and the fact that he can go through all of the adversity that he's put himself through, and then that has been put upon him, and come out a better man with an amazing attitude about life, and not be bittered so much. It speaks a lot for his character.
I have a lot of respect for men that take care of their children.
Yeah, he's an amazing dad, all around. He's an amazing dad. And he wants nothing more than to be able to be involved in my daughter's life as well. I mean, not only the child that we have, he wants to be part of my daughter's life as well. But family court is...
Not allowing that to happen.
I have been. It's not like I'm introduced. Her and I were together when Lily was 2 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's called me Daddy Snow on her to separate, and to separate, you have a biological person, and then you have, so since 2.5, and mom's only been with me even through my time that I messed up, so now here we are now. She's 7 years old, so that's 5 years. Same man in her life as a father figure, via phone now. Because no contact.
And that's a blessing, because up until September, he wasn't even allowed to have phone conversation.
Do you guys remember the conversation we were having on the phone?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what blew me away. So could you just explain to the viewers how your family court case started, and what transpired in it, and where we are today?
Sure.
And you guys could just chime in with each other,
okay.
Like you did on the phone. And if we have any questions, we'll just stop you.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, in 2016, as Jason spoke about earlier, he made a mistake, and it was scary at the time, but after things kind of settled down, because attempted murder that's a really scary word.
That's some years.
That's really, really scary, and I get that.
I always like to put the quotes, probation only.
Correct.
After
because after the gentleman whose vehicle was struck was able to speak, and after Jason was able to speak, things calmed down substantially. And they said, okay, well,
what freeway was this?
95 by Auto Center. 95 by Auto Center. Just to clarify, because we're going to get into the stay away order and all that. Megan and I had an argument at the same time, not the same night, but during the same period. It was about a month period. And during this fight, argument, whatever you want to call it, we were in our bedroom, and Lily was not with us during any of this stuff.
No, she was at her dad's.
But I left the room to go to the other room. Let's not fight anymore. I'm going to go sleep over here. Then Megan,
which is the wise thing to do.
Of course. Yeah. And then Megan came in to where I was, and she was bleeding. So we were both very intoxicated, so she had hit her head or fell down or something.
Right.
So as soon as she came in there, I called the police for a medical, hey, whatever. Well, after I got
I would advise against it unless she was it was a gushing wound and she was passing out.
She ended up having to get stapled because
she did get
whatever
stapled.
Whatever she hit must have been a sharp edge or something. She doesn't know and I don't know. I wasn't in the room and she doesn't know what it was.
Okay.
But anyway, so this was...
we don't drink anymore.
Exactly.
Neither do I. So join the club.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's a little bit of background to that. So then when I was waiting for my case to be heard for the firing a gun thing, this case was brought in as soon as I was going to be released on probation. Then this case mysteriously popped out while I was being released.
What did they try to get you for?
Strangulation.
From a head wound?
Yeah, from a head wound. Strangulation.
Hold on. Did you say that there was a...
No, I actually...
How did they get strangulation?
I don't know. I actually showed up to testify because I've got his police people pushing down on me, telling me that they're going to take my daughter away.
So
she was going through a custody
if I
thing
don't
at the same
testify.
time.
So I showed up to testify because that's a really scary thing for the police to tell you, we're going to take your daughter away if you don't show up and testify. So I did, and they're showing me these pictures, and they said, strangulation. I said, no, by no way, shape, or form did he have put his hands on me. You need to know this. But
so here's what happened when I went. So I wasn't gonna. She's going through custody stuff because of whatever's going on. So I'm not going to testify against her. Right. But my lawyer, who was just a court-appointed,
public defender.
So I wrote down what happened that evening, just like I told you. I said, we were out, came home, I had an argument with you, blah, blah, blah. I wrote it all down, and I said, and I saw Megan through the glass windows, and I said, and I gave it to the attorney. I said, go ask her if this is what happened. They went out, asked her, she said, yeah, that's what happened. And then the lawyer came back in and said, well, she agrees. She goes, so we need to fight this. And I said, I can't fight this because she's going to lose custody of Lily. And so she said, okay, well, we'll try to do a plea deal, whatever. So that's what ended up happening. I got a gross misdemeanor.
Why would she end up losing custody?
We just had so many things stacked against us, I felt, and I didn't want to jeopardize custody with Lily.
So at this time, were you in front of family court? Or
no, this is criminal court.
Okay.
Yeah, I was incarcerated waiting for the firing the gun thing. Mm-hmm. I was being released on probation only, no time served, except while you're waiting for your court date. And then this other case came in. Uh-huh. So then I saw this. So I ended up serving a county year for a gross misdemeanor.
Let's go back to the firing a gun thing. How did you know you even hit a vehicle? How did that even... were you in a vehicle when you...
Yeah, I was in a vehicle.
And you were driving?
She was driving.
And so you're doing the speed limit?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and what the police... Okay, and then I also got a battery on a protective person with no cameras. They shut their cameras off before they... there was no battery on anybody. But when there was a report of shooting on the freeway in a black vehicle, which was ours. So the report says that they pulled us over because they thought it was a broken down vehicle situation because we were on the side. She pulled over to the side of the road. Mm-hmm. So that's why they turned off their cameras in their car and turned off their cameras here. They're the ones that they wear.
The Highway Patrol?
The Henderson Police. Yeah, Henderson Police.
It was Henderson and Metro, both involved, actually.
They're not supposed to turn their cameras off.
Well, they turned them off because, it's in the report, it says, we turned off our cameras. It was we thought it was just a broken down vehicle situation. But then I was charged with battery on an officer. And how do you fight
I thought you was a nice guy a minute ago. What happened?
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so that's the history of this.
Fast forward a few years.
So whatever. I'm
So I did
whatever happened with the battery of the officer?
That was part of I took a plea deal, and that's included in my charges.
Why'd you take a plea deal if you didn't do it?
Because they were telling him that they were going to take Lily away from me.
They were going to take Lily away, and I did not want to jeopardize custody.
Okay.
It was a huge mistake. I should have fought both of these things, and you can't go backwards in time.
Yeah.
And so what I have done is I was on probation. I did my county year and exemplary, right? And
so you did a year at CCDC.
Yeah. Okay. And with no problems at all, I actually got released early because of good behavior. I was moved from North Tower, which is your worst place you can be, to an open dorm room because of my behavior, to helping out in the cafeteria type stuff, so all that. When I was released, I had Henderson because of domestic, and Metro because of the felony. The shooting thing is a felony. So I had 2 probation officers. I got drug tested on both places, alcohol tested. I had community service at both places. I had domestic violence classes. I had counseling, mental evaluations, all this stuff. So I had two people supervising me. This one dropped off 2 years later, and that was 2018. And this one continued until just last June. 0 violations, and I got honorable discharge with 0 violations, community service, all my stuff.
Are you trying to get it sealed?
I'm not right now. We were just trying to get our daughter back. You know what I mean?
Like, probably want to look into that.
We're so focused on
because if people are going to keep using it against you.
Well,
it's already in family court, and Christopher Aaron Ramsey.
You never know what happens in 20 years from now. They're gonna.
Oh, that's
Right.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
But-
So I should look into it. But it was at the time it was the best decision I could make. Hindsight, everybody can see things differently.
Yeah.
I'm the first to admit I never disputed what actually happened. We've been above board through our whole everything we've done, and 4,000 hours of community service is an enormous amount of time. Like I did it on the calculator a few times before coming in here because I'm like, how much time was that?
Imagine if you were going to calculate it to what's the minimum wage going to be?
Oh,
like $15 an hour?
exactly. Yeah, but it's very, very hard when you get released. You have so many obligations to do immediately. Mental evaluation, I understand this, and counseling and this and that and community service, and do this and do that, and then go get a full-time job. What kind of job is going to be like, hey, I'll be here when I can. I have to stay out of jail and I have to go through these hoops, so I'll be here when I can.
Independent contractor.
Yeah, so, yeah exactly. So I actually started working union convention freight because that's pretty much where you can call in and, Anyways, so I digress. I kind of lost where we're at. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and just for your information, and I know I'm probably going to get lectured later, just to put, I typically don't try to put too much of my personal information out there, although anybody can look it up. Trust me, I get contacted all the time about it. But just so, because some of the questions I'm going to ask you two a little bit later are kind of rough, just, or not rough, but just poignant, like just so you guys understand a little bit about my background. I do understand what you're talking about with the plea deal, because when I got arrested in 2008 for a DUI, and I met with the city attorney, and I didn't ask for counsel at the time, which I wish I would have now, but they said, look, we're not going to push for jail time. We'll go, so just plea bargain it out. Well, come to find out that I had to do similar things. Like I had so much community service to do, fines and stuff like that, and it was on my public record. So then a couple years later, it wasn't like to deal with the same situation, or a similar situation. But once you're in the system, it's really tough.
Right.
Like they're going to use it against you. So the only reason why I'm opening up to you guys like that is because I just want you to know that like these questions I'm going to ask you, like I'm no saint. I've been through some things too. So,
none of us are.
Yeah.
None of us are. It's how you come out of it.
I guess my first question is going to be, and both of you can just chime in on this. Okay, if you get charged with attempted murder, right? But the other judge, like probation only, that stuff, what access does family court have? Shouldn't family court have the access to all the stuff that the prior judge did?
I would think so, yes. I would think so, yes. But Judge Moss was completely not interested in
Didn't even take the time to read. And
like even literally, I mean, didn't even.
So that's who the family court judge was.
Yeah.
Starting.
Well, Chris Ramsey hired John Jones, and that team together, Megan couldn't even open her mouth about real facts.
Chris Ramsey's who?
Lillian's father.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Lily's individual. Wouldn't even entertain anything. I mean, quite literally, the one time in 2018 that I actually came into the courtroom for the first time as an audience member, I was removed from the courtroom.
Why?
Because Chris saw me in the lobby, because I've never been able to speak at all in family court. I am the case, yet I have never been able
they
to
silence you, and it's all about you.
Right, and so I came into family court.
I'm the star.
Yeah, for the first.
Give me a talking part.
Right. Maybe some jealousy on the judge's part, because I was the star. Yeah. But anyways, so he saw me in the lobby, and he went to the bailiff. Chris Ramsey went to the bailiff and stated that there was a protection order between Megan and I. Now, I would walk into a courtroom when there's a protection order. That's come stupid. On. Yeah. After all I've accomplished in my good after. So, but hold on. What
would he worried about you being protective from her when he's going after her too?
It's the truth. It's the truth. That's why.
Because everything that he's saying,
do not want.
He doesn't like her either. Right. He shouldn't care if you're around her.
Well, he's yeah.
Right.
So right. So he told them, and they told Judge Moss. So here I'm sitting, come to order. Who's in my courtroom? And John Jones, Chris's lawyer, says, Jason Snow, Your Honor, because he runs the courtroom. Mm-hmm. He's the lawyer, but he's a Jason. Well, no. And I said, yeah, Jason Snow, Your Honor. And
were you in front of the bench or behind the bench?
I was an audience member.
You were an audience member. Okay. Right. That's important.
Yeah. So she said, I understand that there's been something stated that there's a protection order. I am not going to violate a colleague's order if there is a stay away order, and I'm turning, and so I was removed. And
but did she find the order?
No, she had the marshals investigate.
So she goes, I'm turning this over to the marshal's office. I went out to the lobby with the marshal and explained, I said, I did this, this, and this. There is no protection order. And he says, well, we're going to look into it. And he says, you're welcome to, you have to leave the building technically, but you're welcome to sit down in the lobby. And so because after I got my chance to speak to him, and so anyway, so they did an investigation. Christopher Ramsey lied to the marshals.
So the stay away order came from that instance. She said, I'm not going to step on another colleague's toes.
And so she said, I can't do anything about this.
She should have put Chris on record and hold him in contempt of court.
That's what we tried to do.
And get him for perjury as well.
So, and she didn't do any of that, but she did say at the following hearing that I was discharged, released early from probation, blah, 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 blah. And so then she initiated contact between Lily and I. But at the court when I was removed, she said, I can't do anything about this, but I am going to put an order that Jason is not to have contact with Lillian because I do have control over that.
But Megan, did the judge ask you for your input since it's about him staying away from you?
Yeah, she did. Do you remember that? She said, "Did you bring me any paperwork to prove?"
Yeah. Well, yeah. She asked if I had anything to say that
to disprove a lie. Why would you bring proof of Mm-hmm. So that day we went to the criminal court. Mm-hmm. We got the paperwork. We put it in her mailbox, and then we thought stupidly, well, this will be acted on, and she'll change the order.
She'll retract the order.
She'll retract the order. Nothing.
No, and my credibility was damaged because of that too, because we showed up in court together and Christopher said that there was a stay away order and we didn't have proof that there wasn't.
So that's the thing about family court. They believe a whole lot of lip service and no evidence at all to back it up.
He doesn't present any evidence.
Do you know, people ask me, hey, why don't you run for family court judge? And I'm like, you need to be a lawyer to run for family court.
You got to be in the club,
and you have to been practicing attorney in the state for 10 years,
right?
Because it's a district court position. And they're like, well, family court judges don't follow laws anyway. Yeah. So why do you need to be a lawyer for? Just use your personal discretion.
Exactly.
You use your 50-something years of living and use that as an experience, and then make decisions on whoever's in front of you, just like they do.
If you were to go in and use common sense and what's best for the children, you would be a crazy, out of your mind. He upsets everything because you don't follow the pattern, you don't follow the this or that, and so it's just it's a tragedy, And every year Lily gets older, and so we can't go back in time. I can't have. We have a phone relationship, which is awesome. I leave treasure hunts for her. We do things, and it's just, when I go kayaking, I've actually brought her with me via FaceTime, but we can't get this time back.
Never.
ever. And it's a shame. And now we've been told we can't even do anything we're not even allowed to file anymore.
We've been told to take the
so they got you as a disgruntled litigant? Vexatious litigant.
No, they tried.
They tried to have me deemed a vexatious litigant.
So they try to take away your constitutional right to defend yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And
but you know what, Megan? Attorneys file tons and tons of bullshit and try to see what sticks to the wall and try to run up the other opposing parties' legal fees because they got to read it and try to run up their current legal fees because they're taking all this time to file all this BS, but yet they're not labeled as vexatious attorneys.
Right. And all we're doing is
we had proof of some of the evidence that we submitted, pictures, and Chris actually altered the date and time stamp on that picture and then submitted the same photo and said that ours was not accurate.
Of course they're going to believe him.
Yes.
Oh, we have no credibility whatsoever.
Yeah.
We have nothing. I mean, at this point, there's nothing.
I remember you were telling me on a phone conversation how when your daughter comes over the house, he has to leave.
Yes.
Could you elaborate a little bit about that?
Yeah. It starts on Tuesday because on Wednesday he has to pack his stuff. He has to mentally prepare, physically prepare to leave his home, to leave his sanctuary, his child, his family.
For 2 days.
For 2 days.
Yeah. So every Tuesday I'm thinking, where am I going to go this week?
So every Tuesday you got to leave your own house?
No, every Thursday, but Tuesday is when it starts in my head. So Tuesday I'm planning, Wednesday I'm actually packing, Thursday I'm out of my house because Lily's there. Okay. Thursday, and this all is from 2018, from the lie to the marshal's office, and then Judge Soonhee, and I'm going to say Soonhee, even though I know that's not, because in this latest court, she 11 times.
You talking about Soonhee Bailey?
Yeah, but I say Soonhee, and here's why. 11 times she called me John, after she had just read the paperwork of our case, right?
Yeah.
She called me John. Not one time did she call me Jason.
She's in the J's, though.
Exactly. So she doesn't even know our case. She doesn't know. She just she's only been in office. We voted for her. Possibly that was a mistake.
Let me stop because we're getting way sidetracked.
Okay, let's go with the civil rights thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm leaving my house?
Yeah, the civil rights thing is part of it, but the other part of it is I'm confused on what the court case is about to begin with.
Okay. The family court case's custody was taken away in 2016. She had not full custody.
It was joint.
Oh, joint custody. Then it was taken away because of my behavior.
Okay, well, I understand that, but I'm talking about daughters, sons. I mean,
it's
how
her
many
daughter.
kids are we talking about?
It's her daughter with Chris Ramsey.
Okay.
And then I have a son that's 3 years old now.
Okay.
Well, we have a son that's 3 years old now.
Fair enough.
So let's try to stay focused. I'm sorry, there's just so much. So
no,
me leaving the house is because Chris lied to the marshals.
Yeah.
Judge Moss put in an order protecting Lily from me because of if there's a protection order between us.
Why does she need to do that? According to Chris, she already has an order protecting you from her.
Well, exactly. So I literally couldn't be in my house on the days that aren't Thursday and Friday. So every Thursday and Friday since 2018. I leave my house and go camping Thursday, Friday.
Oh, so she put the order in to protect
Lily,
your daughter from you.
Right.
But have you done anything to her daughter?
No, and Chris has called. CPS has been out to our house and interviewed both of us 5 times.
They use CPS as a tool.
Yeah. That's funny. Tool.
A tool.
So CPS comes out, they interview us, and they leave. And he'll make up whatever accusations. And so 5 unsubstantiated. And then even they question Lily, in 2018 they questioned, this is poignant here, because in 2018 they questioned Lily, do you have any fear of Jason? And Lily said no. And the CPS person, and nobody's around, this is just them two. And CPS wrote in the report, Lillian expresses no fear of Jason Snow. Okay, 2018. 2021, when Soonhee had Lily interviewed, Lily is afraid of me. Lily doesn't want to be around me. Now, if she knew nothing in 2018 of my behavior in 2016, who's told her, now 7-year-old, horrific things about me, where she would
Did
have
they interview the child again?
They
No,
interviewed.
they haven't.
No, they interviewed.
We've been told that we're not allowed to talk about this. We're not allowed to file any more paperwork. I am to take custody modification out of my vocabulary, and that I will be sanctioned if I do.
Who told you that?
Yeah.
Soonhee told me to take
That's a
it out.
violation of your constitutional rights?
Absolutely.
And she even.
But when did she say this?
Just
2 weeks
Two
ago.
weeks ago.
I have the whole thing recorded. It's a
2 weeks
6-minute.
ago.
Well, I'm not denying
No,
it happened.
it's a six.
trust
It's
me.
a six. She actually belittled her and said, "Megan, wow, this is the longest you've gone without filing. We're making headroom."
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, when you
Filing to protect our child.
When you're fighting for your kid, there
Yeah.
should be
Unlimited.
unlimited.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's the
So,
longest you've gone
Okay,
without filing
so
something.
let me ask you guys this real quick, because this is something that really frustrates me. Not about you two, just about family court in general. And I've said this before on air. Family court uses the fact that when you start talking about separating kids from parents, it makes parents very emotional. And that is very understandable. Mm-hmm. So they leverage that emotion to abuse your civil rights, is basically, in my opinion, what family court does. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying every judge, but most of them.
Right.
But there also comes a point in time where litigants got to start doing something about it. So when we start talking about civil rights violations, and I understand you guys are going through a lot. I'm not saying you two in particular should be doing this, but I was doing a bunch of research before the show, and Steve, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we've been doing this a long time, and I'm to the level of frustration where it's starting to get I'm starting to get overwhelmed. Why is the ACLU, why have they not launched a full-on investigation of family court?
Right.
Not only just in Las Vegas, but Steve, you've went to Arizona. We've interviewed, her name spaces me now, in Florida, Lita Ford. Lita Ford went through that. I mean, Lita Ford,
Yeah.
I mean, how much more money can you have than Lita Ford, a rock star? She went through this. Like, when I pulled up the ACLU website and I put in all these different things, the only thing the ACLU is focused on, and I'm not saying it's not important, but the only thing they focus on is anything to do with police conduct. Okay? Well, that's fine, and it is a serious issue, and it does need to be addressed. However, the courtroom is the final say,
Right.
right?
Right.
So why is the ACLU not involved in this?
Yeah, because
Is there
that's where it stops right there, is
Yeah.
at the courtroom. So that's where you should focus.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, because there is a new person in charge of the ACLU. Maybe you guys should go and file a complaint with them, and they might act on it, because there's a new person in charge of ACLU for Southern Nevada.
We're open to anything
Well,
because
and
every it seems like every avenue we're trying is just getting shut down. I mean, and it's not just our civil rights that are being violated, our constitutional rights, our right to a fair trial. Like, Christopher abducted Lily, her dad abducted Lily a year ago
And
for 5 months. We filed paperwork through Moss, and it was set for trial. And then once we got closer, all of a sudden, the court just forgot to file the order. So all this paperwork that we have filed now makes us look vexatious because we're filing stuff that doesn't even make sense.
But damn it, if you don't file if you file
Absolutely. I'd be in
something
jail.
1 day late,
Yeah.
it's completely thrown out.
All right.
But 5 months abduction just went away,
Yeah,
Steve.
and that's
Like, that's
because
the
they couldn't
disgusting
find his
part.
actual order.
Why don't you, since you can't,
talk with my
since you
hands.
can't file in your own case regarding custody of or visitation of your daughter, Why don't you take that energy and file against the system?
I have.
Like, did you file? I mean, for full disclosure, I know Soonhee Bailey for many, many years. I knew her before she was a judge. I knew her before she was a hearing master in juvenile. Matter of fact, when Chuck Hoskins denied her right to become a hearing master because of the amount of votes she had versus Amy Mastin's, because Amy Mastin's was Chuck Hoskins' former law partner before he became a judge. And at the time, Chuck Hoskins was the presiding judge over Family Court. And Amy Mastin's and Soonhee Bailey were in the running for a hearing master position. And they had a committee, and most of the judges voted for Soonhee Bailey to become hearing master, but Chuck Hoskins overrode that election and gave it to Amy Mastin because Amy Mastin was his friend and former law partner. So he screwed her over.
Right.
And I remember Chuck Hoskins coming to me and said he made amends with that, and he gave Soonhee Bailey the hearing master position. This was like months later, but she finally got it. Okay,
right.
Because we put out an article against Chuck Hoskins because of what he did, because of not following the rights of the votes of the judges, basically. So while she was in juvenile, I haven't heard anything bad about her.
You know, we had so much hope when she was going to take our case.
And a lot of our members voted for Soonhee Bailey, although I think that we recommended her opponent. I'm not positive for this last election, but a lot of members they did vote for Soonhee regardless because of the longevity that we had with her over the years.
Right.
And now that she's judge, or not hearing master anymore, now that she's judge, she needs to follow law anyway from the very beginning, but she needs to follow the law. And if she violates that law, there are consequences. You as a litigant, you could file a complaint with they don't do anything anyway, but it's good to have a paper trail. You could file a complaint with the Nevada Judicial Discipline Commission.
I've got it right here.
Print it out. We're ready.
But you could file a complaint there. The know nothing Nevada Judicial Discipline Commission, you don't do a damn thing unless a judge wants it done to another judge. Funny how that works. When they're supposed to be protecting the public against bad judges, they protect judges against judges. Go fuck yourself. Anyways, sorry I said that.
I'll put the money in the jar for you.
Anyway, it just pisses me off.
Yeah, it should.
Because taxpayers is paying for Nevada Judicial Discipline Commission. So anyways, and the Supreme Court got rid of recalling judges based on the fact they say, well, we have the Nevada Judicial Discipline Commission.
That doesn't do it.
But doesn't do a damn thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you have that. And you also could file a congressional investigation with Congress for Congress to look into it. Mm-hmm. You also could go to the FBI and file a complaint with them, which you never know what the FBI does because you file a complaint with them, and if they're doing an investigation, you won't even know because they're hush anyways, right? And Metro has, but Metro's not going to do anything because Metro and the judges are like peas in a pot. Metro has a public corruption unit within the department, so you could file a complaint there. So what I'm saying, stifling your constitutional rights is a big thing. I don't know if you appealed it to the Supreme Court.
Not yet. We wanted to come here on this platform and hear and kind of digest what.
But I would advise that you do that because the Supreme Court, the justices up there, they have a way of thinking, and 9 out of 10 is to follow the Constitution.
Yeah.
And Supreme Court Justice, I'm giving you some kudos. So don't fail me now. So 9 out of 10 they're supposed to. 10 out of 10 they're supposed to follow the Constitution.
Right.
But, in my opinion, 9 out of 10,
Well,
they do follow the Constitution.
The thing with our constitutional rights being violated is we were slated for trial, and then this paperwork just disappears.
For abduction, that actually
for
happened.
5 months of abduction
5 months.
just went away. So when we filed for custody modification because he abducted her, well, then it fell into Rooney and Rooney that, or
Who's that?
Rooney versus Rooney. That's the.
Oh, okay.
You have to have certain criteria in order to change modification.
We didn't
but the
have
whole
some-
thing was we
we
were
didn't-
focused on the abduction as our cornerstone.
Is that a federal Supreme Court case? Or
I don't
is
know,
that
but
a
I've
state?
heard that referred to several times.
And there's
That's-
one more thing before I forget, because I got short-term memory loss sometimes. You could also file a federal lawsuit against the judge for violating your constitutional right.
But we're well within our rights to do that because
Yes.
we lost that trial, and now we've lost ground to get our child back.
Right.
So it all kind of like snowballs into this, no pun intended, snowballs into this gigantic mess that nobody wants to touch. Any lawyers that we reach
Nobody's
out to,
going to
they're
want to
just-
touch your case.
No, they
not at all.
don't. And
And
if they do, they said that it's anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000.
And let me explain to you why lawyers don't want to touch your case.
Because they're all in the cool kids
and
club.
cases like yours, because a lot of people, they don't know how to connect the dots. Because, a regular voter works 9 to 5, take care of kids. They got no time to do all this research.
Right.
But a retired veteran like me does. So anyways.
Yeah.
So anyways, shit, I forgot what I was going to say.
Short-term memory.
Damn it. I seriously forgot what I was going to say. Give me some clues. Get me back on track.
So where do you guys stand? It'll come back to you in a second. Where do you guys stand right now as far as like who has custody of what?
He has custody as it's.
He's the primary.
According to Soonhee, she said it's business as usual. She didn't read our case. She said she's got new eyes on it, so we were hopeful. Then as soon as she opened up the case, she said, "We're not changing anything. Jason is to not be around during Lily's visitation." And she said, well, when does that end? It's already been years.
Right.
Get that out of that's not part of your vocabulary.
And she said, I'm not going to give you an end date.
I'm not going to give you an end date, Megan, because then you will file as soon as that day passes. So I got probation.
But that's what she's supposed to do.
Yeah, well, that's what she said. It's all there.
But that's what she's supposed to do.
Here's my question: is when does my sentence end? I went to criminal court. I did my time. I did my sentence. I did my 4,000 hours, and now I've left my house 300 days. And is there a light at the end of the tunnel? No. Take that out of your vocabulary.
And
Lily will be 18. Actually, probably when she's 15, she'll
And they
emancipate herself.
saying that litigants do parental alienation. Sounds like judges are master at parental alienation.
And she doesn't know me, she doesn't know our case, she doesn't know our accomplishments. Mm-hmm. She knows nothing except that Chris, he works for DeBecker and Associates, which is very much in family court investigations. If you go on their website, they count the smoke detectors in the other person's house, and this is reasons for your child's in danger. So he's in that. He's been doing this for many, many years. He's a private investigator for them. They work for family court. They work with the judges, with the lawyers. So Soonhee, when she came on for our latest thing, it was 6 minutes of, no, you're not going to, no, you can't do this, and no, you're not going to file, and John is to leave the house indefinitely.
And Lillian, I did not interrogate her, but Lillian let me know that...
How old is she now, Beth?
She's 7. So Soonhee let a 7-year-old decide, where she wanted to be.
Who was abducted last year and has a very, very influential dad.
He's a narcissistic...
And it's called Stockholm Syndrome as well.
He's a
she wants to
narcissistic
please him. That's
sociopath.
where she lives. What are you going to do? You're going to upset this angry person? I mean, he has domestic violence in several states. He's violated TPO orders.
But he could be around the
He
daughter,
could be around her.
but he
And
can't.
here's another thing, too, as far as... if the whole thing, I'm a rational person, okay? But if the whole thing is I'm a danger to Lily, why have I been around Sterling, the 3-year-old, his whole life?
Your son.
Yes.
Well, her son, but
her
yeah.
son.
How have I been around him his whole life? If it's to protect children from me.
So hold on. So just the 3-year-old, is that from a different?
No. That's our child.
No,
Yes.
it's our child.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, yeah. It's our child, but my whole point...
You said it was her son.
Well,
I was like...
yeah.
He's a very passionate person.
But the whole thing is, rationally, right? If you're a third person and you're watching this monster, me, shouldn't be around kids.
At all. You shouldn't even be by the playground.
And I shouldn't be volunteering at children's camps.
No.
Okay? And then not be able to go home to my own house. But if you're going to protect children, protect children. There's 2 children. One I've raised and I'm with every single day. And the other one I'm not allowed to be around physically because why?
Well, it sounds like the judge has a bias towards you regardless of what it is.
Because Christopher Ramsey and his DeBecker and Associates have deep pockets that go to court and testify in court. That's why.
Now I remember, these judges and attorneys belong to a organization that's called the State Bar. Mm-hmm. They're all paid dues every year. They all got to complete CLE classes versus continual learning education classes every year. They all mix in the pot all together, and people don't realize that they're all come together all the time. So they have personal relationships outside of the courtroom.
Right.
Plus, judges don't want to piss off high-ranking attorneys because they want campaign contributions when they run for re-election, or they want in kind because maybe they have a family member that needs an attorney and do me a favor here and I'll do one here, and attorneys don't want to piss judges off because they just don't have your case.
Yeah,
they have hundreds of cases, and they're going to probably be before this judge again, and they want to keep that going. So they don't. It's a whole big. I don't want to use this word, but I'm going to. It depends on the judge, and it depends on the attorney. Organized crime. Mm-hmm. It's a cabal.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what it is. It's a big circle, and the legal circle in this community is extremely small. Doesn't matter how many attorneys get their get their law license. It's a it's a small circle that they all entwine with each other. And if a judge is going to take away your right to defend yourself and call you vexatious, then that judge needs to look at every single attorney that files the same amount of paperwork as you do or more and deem them vexatious as well, and has to look at every litigant and do the same thing. If they don't do it, they're biased, and they're discriminating against you, by the way.
Well,
and the reason why we filed so much is because every time that he would file something, we felt the need to defend ourselves.
And you should go to the Supreme Court. You should file with the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Well, and the whole mediation thing that, Soonhee left up to Lily. Well, we want to hear what Lily says. Lily was coached by her dad prior to. He showed her, obviously because in 2018 she had no fear, and then now she has this irrational fear because he showed her pictures of dead bodies, and he showed her attempted murder, and he showed her, and this is what Jason is to her.
Now it's also called coercing a witness.
Yes.
Right.
In a normal courtroom that actually follows the law.
But how do we prove that?
She's 7.
Exactly.
And when Soonhee took over the case and she said, "We're stopping all of this bickering between you guys. I have fresh eyes. I'm going to have Lily interviewed, and we'll go from there." We were through the moon. We were like, finally. Lily can say, "I love Jason.
Because
I love my family, and I love my dad, and I want to be both places."
To see them interact together, like on the phone, and these treasure hunts, and like all of this. It's like they're
amazing.
Side by side.
Were you guys present with the interview?
No, we weren't. He drove her there. And
he drove her there.
Yes.
So he could coach her all the way there.
So coming just from this one interview.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Right.
Let's interview her 7-year-old right after that.
I'm supposed to take it out of my vocabulary that if I wanted her to, if I filed for a reconsideration, I'm going to get sanctioned.
And something I don't understand this, how you're describing Soonhee Bailey, because Soonhee Bailey was a single mom for a while.
She has a special needs child.
And she understands. So I know that she would fight to the death for her kids.
Yeah, and that's what all we're trying to do.
And why, if she would fight to the death, Soonhee, if you would fight to the death for your kids, why are you not allowing other people to do the same, something that you would do anyway?
You know, and the thing about Christopher is
she just has to look at the case.
The thing about Christopher is he has a special needs child. He has an autistic child at home as well. But he's abandoned this child. He has 3 other kids in 2 different states with 2 different mothers that he's completely abandoned. Like, why is he fighting so hard for this child when he doesn't give a rat's ass about these other children? Like, the court doesn't look at that either.
And even Judge Moss told him in September 1st hearing, because Judge Moss finally was getting the real story. Because Chris will say something, it's factual because of who he has backing him up. But Judge Moss finally told him that on the hearing, and it's all recorded, said, Chris, your hatred for Jason is not a ruling or a law that I can enforce. Jason Snow is Lillian's official stepdad. That's what Judge Moss said to him. And then now we're on this. What's this? So now we fast forward to now, right? Now we have a new judge. And here is what I am now. Where is it?
It's mother's Nazi tattoo wearing, felon, domestic violence wielding, mentally unstable, street terrorizing, significant other should not physically be around the child. This is why lawyers are submitting to the court and what the courts are allowing to be submitted.
Yeah, well,
why they call you a Nazi?
Nazi wearing tattoo. Nazi
tattoo wearing.
I shaved my head. My grandfather took me to the barber when I was 8, and I've continued the haircut.
But because
I have tattoos.
Anybody,
there's nothing Nazi.
Because anybody be looking at that.
If you were a Nazi, you wouldn't be sitting at
anybody
this table.
be looking at that,
Yeah.
and that's defamation right there.
It is,
Yeah.
absolutely. And this is current. This
That's
is current.
defamation.
Okay, and all this stuff, okay, now, and I'm mentally unstable. So what is Metro doing? Is Metro doing their job? Metro's actual job, when I was released from all this, was to supervise me for 5 years. Mental evaluations. Metro has no concern about where I am and where I go in anything. According to Chris and Family Court, I'm mentally unstable. I am all these horrific things. I'm a terrorist. I'm a Nazi.
Why don't you file a civil lawsuit for defamation against her ex?
Okay.
For defamation. That's what I would do.
We'll do anything.
You want to shut this down?
Yeah.
If you can't file in Soonhee's Bailey, it's actually the people's court. It's not your court. If you can't file in a courtroom that Soonhee Bailey is the presiding judge over, why don't you just take your case elsewhere and just go like that's defamation. And file in civil court.
And then here's the thing. Okay. Now, what is so ridiculous about it is, take me with the officer of the law into a bathroom and find the Nazi tattoo, and then we can go ahead and say all the rest was a lie as well. It's a factual thing. Either I have it or I don't.
And since he did file that in family court, and you're saying you're not, that would be considered perjury.
Absolutely.
So, you can't file an order to show cause to show perjury now because she already handcuffed you from filing anything, right?
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Yes, it is. Like
Absolutely.
it's frustrating, and I'm fighting back tears now because this is our life now.
Right. And Lily's getting older.
Lily's getting older, and Lily's being subjected.
If he treats us this way, adults, how's he treating her? And when he took her away for 5 months last year, you're never going to see your mom. You're never going to see your little brother.
And that was against the court order, right?
Yeah.
And did you file an order to show cause for
Yes,
contempt?
we filed
and
everything correctly. And once we filed everything correctly, it was accepted by the court. We had a trial date, and once the trial came, and
we even got
compensatory days. We got compensatory days awarded by Judge Moss that we've never used, but they were awarded in the.
I would ask for jail time.
Okay, so now, when Soonhee took it, there's no order. Judge Moss failed to write an order for that, so now it didn't happen. Now Lily wasn't abducted.
But there's videotapes, right?
And also
there's videotapes of your court case, right?
Yeah,
right.
We have all that
How
stuff.
do we go back on that?
And the minutes say right there, compensatory time. The minutes say there, but the minutes are not a court order, according to Sonny. Yeah. So If you're the judge and you have all power, write the order yourself. You know what happened because the courtroom wrote.
Court will file the order.
Court will file the order when it was supposed to be written. But in this latest thing said, mom is not at fault. Dad is not at fault. This court failed to file the order holding dad in contempt. Therefore,
I've got it right here. It is further ordered, adjudicated, and decreed mother's motion for order to show cause is denied as there never was an order from the September 1st, 2020 hearing. The court noted that neither of the parties are at fault for this, as the former judge had advised that the court would prepare the order. This court was under the initial impression that there was a written order on file, but later realized that the order did not exist.
You know what? You should go to Dorsey Spears, Channel 13 investigator.
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
That would be a good move. But
isn't that insane?
But I want you guys to replay this video and watch it because I think it's going to be very helpful. You removing yourself from your own home because of her daughter is coming, you're the stepfather, you guys are married, coming to visit is a bunch of bullshit because there's no CPS violation against you.
No.
There's
Chris's lies and they're accepted by the
There's no
court.
abuse against the child with you.
No.
There's nothing. You shouldn't be a stay away order.
And
from
if you
the child.
think about it,
An open-ended stay away order. Like there's no end.
It's really destroying your guys' family bond.
Get
That's
this.
exactly what it's doing.
One lawyer that I talked to said his recommendation was that I divorce my husband.
That's the only way you're going to win
The
your case.
only way you're going to win your case is if you divorce your husband. And I said, well, that's absolutely out of the question.
And you know what? And although it sounds really, really bad, he's not far from the truth because unfortunately, the family court system needs a huge major overhaul. And I don't think that they're doing anything to really making the family bond here.
No, they're about themselves.
The family court system first started out in 1993, and their mission was supposed to be the best interest of the child, and it has gone so far from that mission to destroying families.
Absolutely.
Keep families in court. Keep the wheels turning. That's why they got 6 more judges because they constantly keep families in the courtroom for years and years and years. And according to Nevada, the Supreme Court rule, it's supposed to be start to finish on the family case, supposed to be 6 months. Start to finish, supposed to be 6 months.
We're like 6
we have
years.
all these rules and laws that nobody follows or nobody knows about or people ignore, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
We're running out of time. But I wanted to thank you guys for coming. I'm going to give you the opportunity.
Okay.
I'm going to give both of you the opportunity. You're going to have the last word.
Give me 1 second. I want to make sure that you two have the last word. But there is a statement that I want to make, and it is specifically related to family court.
Shoot.
Okay. So I'm very sorry to hear all the stuff that's going on with you guys. And we've interviewed, and excuse me if I get a little choked up because I'm really starting to get frustrated with this family court situation. But one of the issues that continually comes up, and I honestly don't know how Steve has the patience, but I want to thank Steve. For he does, if people don't understand, he does hundreds of hours of interviews with people and they reach out to him all the time and he interviews people and he spends a lot of his personal time listening to these stories every day. Emotionally, I don't think I could handle it. So first off, I just want to thank Steve for doing that. Also, here's another issue. Okay, I do understand a little bit that COVID has kind of thrown stuff off track, right? But Veterans in Politics, we work really hard at our endorsement interview process. We set up panels. We let you come in here so you can answer questions freely and openly and honestly. And it's videotaped and media and people can come in and see this, okay? Now, there's a political action committee out there that went above and beyond last year to make sure that anybody running for family court judge would be blackmailed if they did not come to our endorsement interviews. Okay? And you want to know why they did that? Because they're out to protect the judges. We're not anti-judges. We understand that there are good family court judges and there are bad family court judges. But unfortunately, when you don't come in to endorsement interviews, where you can be asked questions like, hey, so you're sitting on the bench, what do you, if you're elected judge, consider a vexatious person? Like, they have an opportunity to answer that. And it's video recorded, it's put on tape, so they can be held accountable for it. Another example is, give me an example of, Steve, if you're going to be a family court judge and you win your election, how do you decipher the best interest of the child? What things do you take into consideration? Questions like that by a diverse panel of nonpartisans across all political spectrums are things that these individuals need to answer, and it needs to be videotaped, and it needs to be recorded, and it needs to be put out to the public to educate the public before we put individuals like this in office. Because what is happening to these family members, these judges are tearing families apart. And it's because they're not being held accountable. And it's not just the judges that are doing it. There's political action committees and a lot of money out there that's doing these same things. And Nevada Court Watchers, you're one of them. So shame on you. Because the next time you call veterans in politics anti-American, look at yourself in the mirror, because you are anti-American. Now, listen to these two individuals' stories and how their families have been torn apart. Shame on you.
Thank you, Jim.
Awesome.
Jason Snow, look into the camera, and you could say whatever you want, and you could also give a point of contact if you want to have people join your cause or whatever the story is.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the time here. The one point that I want to say is, as far as who I am, and I'm talking to Soonhee Bailey, if you want to know who I am and the danger that I pose, I have, during this time, had 2 probation officers watching my every move with 0 violations. I've had CPS come into my home 5 separate times with 0 violations. I've been raising Sterling all this time with nothing but awesomeness. We have neighbors. If there was we're outside in the front yard every day. If anybody sees anything, it's utterly ridiculous to me that the scrutiny that I've been put under by 2 police departments and CPS, if there's anybody that's safe to be around anybody, is me. As far as the supervision that I've been under. You know, what you are doing in your personal time, Soonhee, nobody knows because nobody's watching. What other individuals are doing, nobody knows. I was watched for years and years with 0 issues. I'm still that person today, and I'm not being supervised. This is the person I am. I made mistakes. I admitted those mistakes, and I've served my time. But you have put a open-ended protection order because why? Because you know my case? No, because Judge Moss put it in there. Because of what Christopher Ramsey told the marshals. So it's all the chicken and the egg. I mean, it's like, I'm only doing it because my predecessor did it, because you didn't look at my case. You called me John, the whole case. If you had just read any of our paperwork, John would have never came out of your mouth. Or you could have made the mistake one time and said John. but you literally looked at nothing that we have filed. You went with what Judge Moss said and what Christopher Ramsey and his lawyer, Evan Schwab of Schwab Law, who ironically has a statement that if families would keep the conflict out of the courtroom, what the judge looks for is the best interest of the child. We liked that page because we agree. But he's done nothing. Nazi-wearing tattoo thug that's doing street terrorism, but I'm under supervision by all these people? Come on. Come on. Ridiculous.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Megan, same thing.
My plea is for somebody to just listen. Thank you, Steve, for giving us a platform to speak, and hopefully somebody will listen. That it's beyond us at this point, and it feels hopeless because nobody wants to help us have our family back together, because ultimately this is about that little girl, and my heart breaks for her because she's stuck in the middle of this, and she didn't ask to be put here. And if anybody could just take the time to listen, that we're not those people. Take the time to listen and actually read our stuff and help. Like, we don't know what to do at this point anymore. And if we step out of line, we could lose our child for what? For trying? And that's terrifying to think that he has this kind of power, that Soonhee Bailey has given him this kind of power when she looks at you and says, it's up to Dad to decide when it's time.
That was the closing thing.
It's up to
Dad will decide when Jason can come home. Dad and Evan. It's the last part of the recording of her statement. This court's not ready. Dad will decide, and Evan Schwab will decide when we can change that.
Which means
why are you being paid?
Dad, the one that's fighting against you.
Right. If Lily's making the judgment in mediation of who she lives with, 7 years old, and Dad and his lawyer get to decide when we get to go back to court, then why are you on the bench?
She's a civil servant.
Why are you there? It's right there. It's on the record. She said that. Dad will decide, and his lawyer will decide when we can address this issue.
Our hands are tied.
Done, Megan?
Yeah, thank you.
You okay?
No.
Fair enough. Guys, I wanted to thank both of you for coming on the show and sharing your experience with the court. And hopefully that anybody that sees this video would want to reach out and help change the system within. Jim, you have anything?
No, I just, the last thing I'm going to say is just, it seems hopeless, but seriously, you just need to keep reaching out. You need to, like I think Steve said, even if you don't think somebody's going to do something, keep the paper trail going, not in Soonhee's court, because you don't need to be in contempt, obviously.
Right.
But there's a lot of groups out there that are supposedly supposed to be helping individuals like you. And the more documentation, and to be honest with you, the more documentation that is out there, the more access to help you'll get. So please don't give up.
I would say take this video and give it to the head of the ACLU. Just say, hey, just take a look at this and reach out to me after you finish watching it.
Awesome.
And that way you don't have to
explain
back into it again.
Yeah.
So just use the video to explain exactly what you guys are going through.
Excellent.
Because your constitutional rights are definitely violated. Definitely. Why have them if you could violate them, right?
Our right to a fair trial out the window.
You don't have that.
I'm still leaving my house.
And this is the very reason.
Indefinitely.
And this is the very reason why we didn't put a bill in, but why we were echoing the great need for a jury trial in family court, because one judge deciding these factors is just simply ridiculous.
Yes. You steal a candy bar and you get help from the city. You get representation. Family law, if you can't afford a lawyer, you're up Schitt's Creek.
And you know something? And you have people that commit murder.
Yes.
Okay? Do their time and come back out in society, and they're supposed to be a product way of society because they did their time, and they're getting a second chance after they commit murder, right? Although the person that they killed don't have that second chance, but they do.
Yeah.
So they're giving murderers a second chance, but yet they're spitting on you guys.
Yeah.
Right.
It just doesn't make good sense to me, you know? But Jason and Megan Snow, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Folks, that's Jason and Megan Snow talking about their family court case and how it has extremely divided their family and how it has violated their constitutional rights. And they have constitutional rights. And these judges, you need to start learning what the Constitution is, because apparently you guys have no idea what the Constitution is. There should be a constitutional class in college, judicial college, because apparently you judges are not getting it. Not all of you, but some of you. And Soonhee Bailey, come on. This is not you. Start being you. Remember you 10 years ago, 5 years ago, how you were when you first went on the bench? When you first went in the hearing master's position? Come on, Soonhee. This is not you. Do the right thing. Not asking for any handouts, just asking you to follow the law and to follow the Constitution and follow the evidence, the rule of evidence. Follow the rule of evidence. It's not hard. This is Steve Sampson, Jim Jones, another episode of Veterans in Politics. Until next time.